Beau Maths screwed up, Beau Maths screwed up, Beau Maths screwed up. But how did he do it? Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Beau Maths. Hope you're all doing well, and the last video, well, let me say, thank you very much. We absolutely popped off. I've never gotten over 1,000 views before, so that felt really good. So thank you very much for all the support, all the ideas, all the engagement on that video. I was really happy about it. Unfortunately, it had to be the video where I made a mistake. So I am here to rectify that mistake because we all want to trust our sources of education, right? And this video is dedicated to this great user right here who actually commented and caught this mistake. So thank you very much for your contribution to letting me make accurate videos for the internet.
The problem.
In the last video, we talked about these linked lists. And essentially what we had were these kind of pieces of data, or these nodes, where it would store data as part of it, but then it would also have a pointer which would reference to another storage spot in memory, right? So this data here has a pointer to 321. So it is essentially just an arrow or a link pointing to the data over here. So these two have become linked. And then similarly, data 3 here, that's got a pointer to the spot in memory storage number 75. So that's over here. So we are linking these two data as a result, right? And we saw that this was the structure of the linked list. The way that we would push is that we would bring in a new piece of data, and then that would be in some sort of storage slot, right? Maybe 2, 3, 4, 7. And then we would just add a pointer to the previous top, so that these two pieces of data become connected, and we would change the label of the top, right? And we saw the advantage of this is that this push operation, in contrast to the Minecraft stack that I made, that would be done in a fixed amount of steps, regardless of how much data we had. All we had to do was just kind of add the data, add the pointer, and change the label, and we were good to go. Similarly with popping, we would start by accessing the data, and then we would relabel the top. So we would put top back onto that second spot, and then we would also remove the pointer in that second spot, which would then essentially dissolve the connection between these two pieces of data, effectively removing our previous top from the list. And I also claim that this occurred in big O of one time, or just a constant time where it would be the same fixed amount of steps every time. We would access the data, we'd relabel the top, we'd remove the pointer. This is where I made my mistake. So I claim that this step right here, the relabeling of the top, that actually won't occur in big O of one time. That's going to occur in big O of n time. See if you can think about why that's the case. So when I relabel the top, right, like I did here, in order to do that, I need to actually have access to this second top piece of data, right, in order to actually give it the label. But the problem is I only have access to the top of the stack, right? How do I actually get the computer to go to this piece of data? The only pointer I have going to this is from data 2. And the only pointer I have going to this is from data 3, right? So the only way I can actually get to this piece of data is if I start at the bottom of the stack and then follow that chain of pointers through until I get to this piece of data. But the problem is that relies on how big my stack is, right? If I have 3 million pieces of data here, if I want to access this second piece of data to relabel it as the top, I have to start way at the very end and then go through those 3 million pieces of data to get here. And so then we're back at the same problem of having this operation rely on how much data we have, meaning it occurs in that big O of n time, which is not what we want. We wanted this to occur in big O of 1 time.
The solution.
So how do we fix this problem? Well, the problem really came in with the labeling. I called this the top, and I called this the bottom. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to relabel it, and I'm going to call what was the bottom the top, and over here I'm going to call this the bottom, and we're going to see that it's much more effective. So I've changed the labeling around. This is our new top here. And I'm just currently having data 4 disconnected so that we can see how the pushing and the popping is going to work. So with the pushing, when we add something to the stack now, so instead of changing the top's pointer to the new data that we're adding, we're actually going to add a pointer in the new data to the current top. So this data 4, that's what we're adding here. And in order for this to be on the top, Well, that needs to kind of be the start of this chain here, right? We've kind of reversed our thinking about where the top is. So if the top is at the start of the linked list, or where the start of these arrows go, then in order for data 4 to become our new top, it needs to start the arrows, right? And so to do that, well, we need to add a pointer to the current top. So we can access the top easily enough because we have a label for it, right? So the computer knows what the top is. So we just go there and we make a pointer to that top piece of data. And by doing that, that connects our data 4 to data 3. And then what we do is we do the relabeling, right? We call our new data the top. And all of that will occur in big O of 1 time, right? So all we're doing is we're adding a pointer, but this time we're adding a pointer to the added data, the data we add. Whereas before we added the pointer to the data that was previously in the linked list. And then we change the top label. That still happens, right? But we're just kind of changing where the top is. Instead of being after all the arrows, it's before all the arrows, right? So we just have this initial pointer going into the list, and then we just change where the top is. So that still occurs in big O of 1. So that's great. Now let's talk about how popping looks. So let's say I want to get rid of this top piece of data and reinstate data number 3 as our new top. So we start by accessing the data. That's fine. That occurs in big O of 1 time. Then how do we relabel the top? Well, instead of having to traverse through all of our data, we immediately have a pointer to the second piece of data, right? Our pointer right here, 321, is telling us that our data is right here. And so we always can immediately access our second piece of data just by calling the top's pointer. So the computer has a direct reference to this piece of data, and we don't have to cycle through all the data, no matter how much we have. It's just this single step that occurs right here. So relabeling the top then, that occurs in a small amount of time, right? We just access this piece of data and we call it the new top. And then we remove the old label on our data 4. Then we remove the pointer in data 4, because what that's going to do is it's going to disconnect it from the list, right? And now data 4 has no longer any connection with the list. So this data 3, which we're calling the top, is actually the top now, right? Because it is the start of this list. And now this all runs in big O of 1 time.
Concluding thoughts.
So I hope that made sense, and I apologize for the confusion regarding how these linked lists actually implemented stacks correctly. The idea in the previous video still stands, but the problem is just the implementation of the relabeling actually kind of messed things up because the computer would have had to go through all the data. But by changing the order in which what we call the top and the bottom to the way we have it now, that allows us to much more efficiently and effectively relabel the top. So I hope you learned from my mistake, and I still hope you found this video interesting. In the next video, we're going to do some practice with these concepts with the proper ordering. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your time, and that's going to do it for me today. So you have a good one, you stay groovy, and I'll see you in that next Beau Maths episode.
Subscribe for hardcore math.
Beau Maths.